Hey everyone, Jordan Butt here with Rokslide, and today I'm going to do a kind of a rundown and review of the Garmin Instinct GPS watch that I just picked up about 4 months ago. So the first thing I like about this watch is its weight. It's 1.8 ounces on my kitchen scale, and which is really nice. And then is also pretty low profile. I tried another watch, the Suunto Traverse Alpha. For the most part, I like that watch, but it seems when you put them next to each other, they don't really seem that different in size. But the Suunto sits higher on my wrist, and it really interferes with putting jackets on and off, and just catching things outside overall, and it's kind of annoying. This one doesn't do that as much, at least for me. I think the menu system is on this one is also easier and a little bit easier to comprehend and more user-friendly than the Suunto Traverse Alpha one was for me. This watch does have some pretty cool features. One thing, the battery time on their website is 14 days, and I've recharged the watch now probably 8 times, and that 2-week mark is still running true for it. Haven't really used it long enough to know if, after having it a couple years, if that's going to go down to a week or 10 days, but so far it's been well. One thing I think that's huge for this watch is the customizing that you can do for it. All of the buttons on the outside can be customized to a certain extent. Basically the only customizing I did different from the way they had things laid out, because I like the way they had them laid out of the factory, is the ABC button. When I hold down on it for just really a couple of seconds, it locks or unlocks all the buttons. So that's pretty big. Another thing I really like is they kind of have a quick access menu here on the control. I can hit that for a couple seconds, and it comes up with a number of quick access things that you can do. One of them is power off, which is pretty big. I could never figure out on my Suunto how to just turn it off if I wanted to turn it off overnight. This one you can, and it's really easy to do if you want to conserve battery. And then you can roll around. I've got stopwatch on this. I have save location. I also have pair with the inReach. This only pairs with the Garmin inReach Mini. It doesn't pair with the Explorer, at least the version that I have of the Explorer, which is kind of a bummer. But from everything that I've heard with the Mini and this watch, it's really nice to be able to go down the trail and look and see if you have a message from somebody. If you sent somebody a message, we're like, hey, we're just getting to camp, or hey, we're just leaving camp, we're okay. And you look down and you can see that they got that. That's pretty cool. And then I also believe that you can reply off of the watch. I have a compass on there, alarms. That's another thing. Find My Phone. You can do a Find My Phone on the watch to the phone that it's connected to. I've used that a few times, and it gives it kind of it vibrates, and it gives it kind of a weird ring, and I have actually found my phone a couple of times because of this thing. And then another thing I use a lot is the music control. The music control is pretty cool because I'll be running on the treadmill or doing something in the gym, or have my phone connected to the Bluetooth, and I'll just be walking around the house and I want to pause or stop or play the next song or skip ahead. I can do that all through the watch. I don't have to do it on my phone. And then sunset right now says 7:06. It'll bump to sunrise in just a second, I think. And yeah, sunrise 6:45. So that's probably right. And then you can lock the keys on this one as well. And then going through some other things, they have deals on the front screen. It's kind of like a quick access pages you can scroll through, and they call them widgets. So they have a number of different widgets that you can get. I have, this thing is My Day, gives me the date, and then My Day, it says that so far I've climbed 1 flight of stairs, 1,600 steps, and I burned 812 calories. There's no way that can be true. I can tell you that right now. So I think for the steps, the floors climbed, and then the calories, you're going to have some other kind of thing that's paired to this that'll calculate that a little bit better. But as it is now, even with the heart rate and the calories burned and the steps taken, I just don't think there's any way that can be that accurate attached to your wrist. So keep that in mind. Another cool thing is the weather. You can actually get a little weather on here. The weather thing is a little bit goofy because I think, from what I understand, it just connects to your phone and it gets your weather from the nearest tower that you're hitting off of, so not your actual location or your watch's weather, or the weather on your cell phone. So that can be a little bit tricky. I have my calendar on here. I have, the sunrise, sunset, elevation profile, and then my music controls, and then heart rate. Those can also all be changed and moved around, so you don't have to have all those. You can just have one. You could have a couple if you want. So one of the big reasons for the backcountry that I got this watch was I like to be able to look down and look at my elevation, look at my altimeter, see what I've gained and lost in the day. I can mark a lot of different things, like I can mark my camp. So then if I go way up to a glassing point and coming back down, I know about where my camp is. I don't really need to use my GPS, but I want to double check myself. I can just remember the altitude that my camp was, go down to that elevation, and then go whichever way and just follow that elevation all the way around and to get to camp. So that's a good way to do it. I think I just like to know my altitude anyways, but a problem that you can run into with any watch, not just this one, is factory settings. Most of the time your altimeter is working off your barometer, and where that's really going to screw you up is your barometer is going to change and your altitude reading is going to change on your watch. So what you need to do is you need to go in and actually change that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You go into your menu settings, you go down to settings, sensors and accessories, down to barometer. From barometer you need to go to watch mode. In watch mode you need to change from auto to altimeter, and that's going to fix that for you. Then you can use the back button, go to the altimeter, and you can calibrate. You can either calibrate using the GPS of your current location, or you can calibrate with a known altitude that you're on, via whether your map or another GPS or whatever. But that's going to fix your altimeter problem, changing with the barometer. And that's a big one. That's one of the first things you'll want to do. And then GPS runtime, it says it's like 16 hours for the GPS and then 40 hours for the Ultra Track. The Ultra Track is going to get you a little bit more battery life, but it's not going to be as accurate of a GPS. The save location, every GPS watch is going to let you mark waypoints. With the waypoints that you mark, you can customize the name. There's little icons that you can customize with it. So that's a pretty cool thing. And then getting back into all those is really simple. Like I said, the usability is really nice with this. One thing with the GPS also that I changed right off the bat was I run all my activities, and I changed all the settings in my activities to where I run GPS plus the Galileo system, I think is how you call it. That seems to get the best accuracy with this watch. And another thing that you're going to want to change probably right as you get it is your format, your position format, and then what datum plane you're in. So how you do that is you go back to menu, you're going to go down to settings. This one took me a while to find, but I finally found it. Down to system, format, and down to position format. And then here it says format, I have it in UTM, and then datum, I have it in NAD 27. So those two things are what my map is that I carry, so they relate. So if I'm working with the coordinates that my watch is giving me on my map, they're going to be the same, they're not going to be different, which can be a big problem if your format and position, if your format is completely off, it's going to be different. You also need to make sure that, like, the other little Jordan is going to be using the Suunto Traverse Alpha this year, and I'm going to be using this watch. We're both going to have maps that are in the same format, and then we're also going to have our inReach that's going to be in the same format. So if everything's in the same format, all of your coordinate readings should be the same. One thing that really separated this watch for me from the Suunto Traverse Alpha was, for one, the price. My Traverse Alpha at the time was $600, and this watch is $299 off the S&S Archery site. The Suunto also receives text messages and emails, but the difference is on the Suunto, if I didn't see it right when it came through, I couldn't figure out how to get back in to look at all of the notifications that I had, whereas this one I can go back in quickly to notifications, and I can look at a text message that somebody sent me and I can actually read it. I can't reply to it, but I can read it, which is kind of a really cool deal. Sometimes I'll have my phone plugged in the kitchen because it's low battery or whatever, and I'll be working in my office and somebody shoots me a text message and I can just look at it on my watch. And that makes me sound really lazy, but it is a nice thing to have. So the notifications on this thing are pretty cool. And then you can, along with the customizing, you can customize your watch face, kind of your home screen, if you will, of how you want it. I have my elevation profile right here in this little circle thingy. I have, if I have any notifications on my phone, I have the time, I have the date down here, and then I have the battery level. One thing with the battery level I really wish it did was, instead of just showing a level, I wish there was a percentage. It gets down so low that I can't tell if I have 20% battery life left or if I have 6% battery life left. Another thing that you're really going to want is the Garmin Connect app. And that app is going to show you a variety of things, including your heart rate, your steps taken, your floors, other things like stress. With MyFitnessPal app, you can add the calories that you're supposed to have in, so that's going to track your calories. It's going to track your sleep schedule and a variety of other things. More what this thing is going to do is it's going to sync from your watch to your phone, and then from the phone it's going to actually upload to the website for Garmin Connect, where you can see a bunch more things, which is a pretty cool thing to do. But another app that you're really going to want is called the Garmin Explorer app. And what the Garmin Explorer app is going to do is it's basically a mapping app for your GPS. So you can do things like, you're going to be able to add waypoints, add routes. As you add waypoints and routes onto your watch itself, it's going to be able to show up on your smartphone. So it's pretty cool being able to do both, kind of a dual thing. You can get on the computer screen where it's easier to see. You can completely map a route out, and then it's going to show up on your watch. So that's a pretty cool feature. So far, this has been a really cool watch. There's just a ton of points to hit on that made it's kind of tough to hit on all of them in a video, and it's tough to hit on them all, especially in an article, without doing a super long article. So I think we managed to do the heavy hitters. If you just want a tough, durable watch that's easy to use, but has some cool features on it for a good price, I think that the Garmin Instinct